Hello, I'm Keith Inman, President of Kosair Charities, and I have the honor and privilege of being with Sarah Halfacre, who is the CEO of Green Hill Therapy. And Green Hill Therapy is an organization that we just love, and I'm excited to be able to share some good news about the relationship between Kosair Charities and Green Hill Therapy. But more importantly, I'm excited to share the good work that Green Hill does. And Sarah, I'm glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Keith. I would first like to thank you and Kosair Charities for allowing us this opportunity. I'm very excited to talk about Green Hill and share our experiences together with you all. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
So let's talk about Green Hill Therapy. You know, you hear this name Green Hill, so you think of this beautiful place and therapy. And therapy can mean a lot of things, but you guys are pretty specialized. And you know, with those two pictures behind you at your office there, I think it gives us a little foreshadowing about Green Hill. But let's talk about the history of Green Hill Therapy.
Absolutely. So the name doesn't lie. Green Hill Therapy is a beautiful 10-acre farm. We're located off Long Run Road out in the east end of Louisville. Back in the 90s, Shirley Cochran, a physical therapist, had a farm, had a horse named Daisy, and found out about something called hippotherapy. So hippotherapy is somewhat misleading because it is actually using a horse's movement to enhance therapy sessions. So it is an evidence-based, medically proven approach to therapy to reach therapy goals. So back in the 90s, Shirley found this and she started Green Hill Therapy. She lived here and opened up a clinic, and she did physical therapy and utilized the horse's movement to help her session. It has since grown into, now that we're in the year 2021, we have occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy services. And we provide these services to children with special needs, regardless of their ability to pay. And so much of that is because of the generosity of Kosair Charities. And so we provide services here. And like I said, we use the horse's movement. So what does that mean? You can, when I say a therapy ball or the therapy bands or weights, treadmills, people know pretty much what that looks like and how you use it. Well, we have all those things and we use them, but we also use the horse's movement. It's very complementary of a human's body movements when you're on the horse. And so we have very specific, highly specialized training in this therapy approach so that we can use this. What it does is it gets our kids working really, really hard without realizing it because they're having a whole lot of fun while they're doing it. So that's very special. We also typically provide aquatherapy services at Home of the Innocents Pool. Because of the pandemic, that is closed right now, so we aren't doing that. But that's typically what we do. And because of the pandemic, we don't have horses here right now. So our therapists, who are very inventive and creative, have come up with all kinds of different ways to provide these therapy services to keep the kids working really hard, but not realizing it and having a lot of fun.
You know, that's the great thing about therapy, especially with kids, is that they think they're playing. They think they're out at the playground having a big time, and they're really learning. And let's talk about the pandemic, because the pandemic has altered your world. But I also know that in a lot of ways you've come out stronger, which speaks a lot about leadership and being able to pivot. You know, used to be we thought pivot was a basketball term. Mm-hmm. Now it's a term in the nonprofit sector of how you've been able to adapt to this thing called COVID. So let's talk about how that's affected you, and also talk about when those horses are going to come back.
Absolutely. Thank you. So as therapists, we are built to adapt. Every therapy session, we grade it to meet that child's needs. So when the pandemic hit, I will tell you, back in March when we had to close, one of the hardest days of my entire life was sitting down with the staff and the volunteers and saying, okay, guys, we need to close. We're going to send the horses home safely, and we're going to see what we can do. And as soon as we can open back up safely, we will. Something about therapists, especially ours, is they live to help and work with these children. They are focused on it, helping the children to become empowered. And a child's job is to play. So that's what we do. We teach them how to play. And once you know how to play, then you can learn how to learn. You can learn how to work. You can learn how to socialize and everything. So that has always been our goal. So we closed down in March of 2020, and we had 21 visits because we closed down early. Then me and board of directors sat down and worked out a plan. What are we going to do? Can we open back up? If we open back up, what's that going to look like? How can we keep everybody safe? And by the way, we're still running a horse farm without having any therapy revenue, right? In a world that's so uncertain. So it was a socially distanced, completely vacant lot in Green Health Therapies parking lot. And H. Stroth agreed to come talk with us. And we needed to know, Kosair has always been such a big support to us, and we needed to know where we were and what we could do and should do. And H said, Sarah, what you guys are doing here is amazing, and we're not going anywhere. And right then and there, we looked at each other and we said, okay, we can do this. This may be hard. It's definitely scary and challenging, but because we have Kosair Charities supporting us, we're going to do this. I had a Zoom meeting with all the therapists after that to tell them about that. And let me tell you, that was happy tears and joy, because from the day we closed, I would get calls and texts and emails. Sarah, when we're going to open back up? We were being inundated by our children's parents saying, please help. Our children need services. They're not in school. They don't have sports. They don't have therapy. We are in a crisis here and we need help. So we were able to open back up the beginning of May. And we instituted telehealth sessions to help spread out so that we could socially distance. So we had in-person and we had telehealth. And it says a lot to the character of our therapist as well, because that had to be a scary time, because we don't have horses. Now we're doing telehealth that we've never done before, and we have an empty arena. What do we do? Very quickly, they were on it, and they created a Thera playground. So we have a 7,000 square foot arena that is heated and has fans, and we created a giant playground for the kids. And so this is a time, remember back again in March, April, May, everything was shut down. There was nowhere to play. There was nowhere to run. There was nowhere to laugh. And the kids would come here and they could do that. And they did. And so I talk about that because it became a time of creativity. And so Halloween started to come around and we said, man, a lot of places are canceling trick or treat. What can we do? So we went out to our barn and we have 10 stalls, and the therapists came and they had the kids help them in their therapy sessions working on their goals to decorate the barn as an enchanted, not so scary haunted house. And so then the kids could come and trick or treat, and they did. And we have some very cute pictures of that. You should see our website and social media, because it's amazing. And that was such a big hit and meant so much to the families that when Christmas time started coming around, we thought, what can we do to bring the community together and to help our kids? So we reached out to our community on Facebook Market and Nextdoor and apps like that and said, if there's anybody that might have an extra Christmas tree laying around or some lights, let us know. We'll come pick them up. We want to do something really great for the kids at Greenhill. Well, again, check out, greenhilltherapy.org, because we have videos of that. We had over 40 something Christmas trees. We had lights lined the entire arena. The kids could come around and run around. We had Christmas carols. We had snowmen. It was just something very magical, because in such a time of need, right? That's going to breed creativity. And that's exactly what we did. We knew we needed to be there for those kids because they have lost so much and are suffering. And it's a very traumatic time. And we came out stronger and better than ever from it. You know, so March of 2020, we did 20 visits. March of 2021, we did 642. April, we had 719 visits in 1 month. We had 115 kids back when we closed. We have 200 now that we are changing lives.
And that's amazing because, you know, so many of the people who are watching and listening today, you know, they go to work and it's a job. Mm-hmm. You know, and for so many of our partners and the organizations that we support, when people go to work, it's a passion, it's a life. And that's what I really appreciate about Green Health Therapies is that it's not a job. Mm. I mean, it's a passion, it's a love.
This is a lifestyle. This is a being. It is in you. And I always say I am the luckiest person on earth because yes, I go to work every day and yes, it is hard work. I can come home dirty and sweaty, but it is the most amazing experiences that you forget that you're working. So much like I talk about selfishly when I talk about the kids and how they're working hard and they don't even realize it, a lot of times that's us too.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You experience moments, and again, we work very hard, but we get to experience moments that most people never get to experience or might once in a lifetime. And I can count on, you know, I have 2 handfuls of times where I've heard kids say their first word. I've seen them tie their shoes for the first time. I've seen them believe in themselves and understand their bodies and what they can do for the first time. If you don't mind, I've got a couple stories that I love to share, and I have a lot of them, but I always like to just pick a couple. There's a little boy that would come and work with us, and this was when we were doing hippotherapy, and his grandmother would bring him, and she was a main caregiver, and she said, you know, we've been trying for years to get him to say Nana, and he can't do it. You can tell he wants to, but then nothing comes out. So we are doing our work on the horse, and I'm talking to him, and we're getting around, and so I'm incorporating the term Nana into our conversation. He gets up where he can see her, and he looks up and he says, Nana. We're all crying and we're happy and we're excited. We go around the circle again, we come back up, and he says, Nana. And so every time he'd come around, he'd say Nana. And so she went from 0 to 20 in 5 minutes. And it was so amazing. And then, you know, by a few sessions later, he was able to say, I love you, Nana. I heard a teenage son that was nonverbal say, I love you to his mother for the first time ever. And that's special. That's something that I will hold with me for my entire life. And how lucky am I to be able to get to experience that on a daily basis? So it's just it's life-changing for the kids, but it's life-changing for us as well.
You know, Jim Valvano, the former basketball coach that passed away a long time ago, almost 30 years ago with cancer, in his ESPY speech said that every day, you should laugh, you should think, and you should have your emotions move to tears. And if you do that every day, it's a heck of a day. That's a way to say it. It's a heck of a day. And, you know, that's what you do. You know, at Kosair Charities, we do that by about 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. And I have to say, you've kind of touched my heart too, Sarah. But you're a new leader. You're a new, you know, executive director, right? And you went in last year, right before the pandemic, if I remember right.
I began February 1st in my new position,
Yeah.
And we closed down in March. Mhm.
How was that for you?
That was one of the hardest times of my life, and it was scary. We are a family here, and something that is very special to me about Green Hill is I know all the staff and the volunteers and the kids and their moms and their dads and their caregivers and their grandparents. And so it took me out of worrying about myself and worrying about everybody. And so instead of feeling sorry for myself and worrying about what am I going to do, it's like, okay, here we go. We're going to do this and we can do this together. And so much of that is because of the strength of our therapists, our equine staff, our volunteers, because we miss our equine staff, let me tell you. And we are working to get horses back and equine staff back. We miss our volunteers. We have two volunteers, Sally and Sherry, and they've been coming in, but because we're socially distancing, instead of where they're normally sidewalking with the kids on horses and laughing and seeing smiles, they go out into the arena or the gym when nobody else is there and they clean by themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what they do. So so when you have that amount of dedication and loyalty and support, you know good things are going to happen. So I just knew we could do it together, and we have. And I am so grateful for this. I will also say that, you know, being involved with as you invited me into the Spalding University and Kosair Charities Leadership Institute, that's such great work, because what that does is it takes new leaders such as myself and it empowers us and provides us resources and education on how to be strong, confident, successful, sustaining nonprofit leaders in a very scary world. And, you know, and I'm still in the midst of the course. I haven't even graduated yet from it, and it's amazing. And so I am very appreciative for that opportunity. And that is part of what has made us so strong.
You know, and that's a real important point because, you know, again, there is no difference between a nonprofit business and a for-profit business. They are all businesses. Now, nonprofits exist because the government can't do what you do, and the for-profits can't monetize it, right?
Yes.
So, but it's still a business, and you have to have those good, strong business principles to run it. So I'm really happy that you're a part of that, and I'm glad that you've been able to put it to work. Now, I'll be much happier when those courses get there, because when I've been there, and you see a child, you know, come in and they're challenged. That, you know, they could be on crutches or walkers or wheelchairs, and you put that child on that horse, and immediately they sit up, they smile, they take control, and it's just awesome to see how that child transforms. And when the horse starts walking, how, you know, strong they are and confident they are. I mean, it's amazing. And you know, you got me a little teary a while ago. But every time I go out there, it's emotional for me, because you see those kids and you see that now they have a shot at a future. But hippotherapy is labor intensive.
Yes.
It's not a child on a horse. It is a child on a horse, but it's also what?
It's so much. So hippotherapy, like I said, it is very strategic. It is very thought out. And so you have a child on a horse, and you have someone leading the horse. You have the therapist next to the child. You have the volunteer, so the sidewalker on the other side of the child. And so it takes 4 people and a horse for one session. But that's a life-changing session, because the impact that the horse's movement and the horse's being, I mean, they're majestic creatures, and they're so sensitive. And if anybody's been around a horse and knows horses, they understand when you're having a bad day. They understand when you're having a good day. They know when you need to calm down. And so part of the horse's breathing and their being also helps center the child and have them focus. And that's something that's not so tangible, but is so there. And you work on core strength, you work on visual motor skills, you work on so many aspects, primitive reflexes. There's so many things that we can work on, and it's determined on what direction we go, how fast, which horse, the size of the horse, the movement, the cadence, everything about it, the activities that we might do well on the horse. And so, we have 5 therapists that are level 2 certified in the American Hippotherapy Association and a hippotherapy clinical specialist. So we are very highly trained. It's not just walking around in a circle with a horse.
Yeah.
And what it does and you look at the neurobiology and the kinesiology of it, and I'm going to get excited. I'm going to try to stay away from my therapist talk, but it has a huge impact on them so that they can remember how their body moved and how they were able to coordinate their movements more so than if they were on a therapy ball. And they're in a dynamic environment moving. When you're on a therapy ball or a treadmill, those are great tools, but you are not in a dynamic environment moving around, interacting with people, interacting with horses. And then this, you get to do that. And they can learn about, what's really exciting too, is that there's, our therapists will use the horse's body language to teach children about body language that can transfer to people. So kids that are having trouble socially will talk about, well, now let's look. What do you think that horse looks scared, upset, happy? And then they can transfer that to people, where before the kids could not connect with kids, but they can with the horses. So it's amazing work. And we're working very hard to get the horses back here because it is very important. Now, the 17-year cicada onslaught that's about to come, we're going to let that die down a little bit because we don't want to overwhelm or startle the kids or anything with bringing the horses back with that. But, we'll get the cicadas out of here after a little while and get back to work with the horses.
Well, and let's talk about your footprint. Where do your children come? Where do the kids come from?
Kids come from Jefferson County, Shelby County. I've had kids drive. I've had one boy that would drive over an hour each way to come do therapy twice a week. So we serve, it is a very large area that we serve because people come to do and see what we're doing. So all over.
Good. That's great. That's great because your product is so good. Earlier you mentioned that you came out of the pandemic and right now you're working with, I believe you said 200 kids.
Mm-hmm.
There's something we don't really talk about a lot in our world, but we should, and that's waiting lists. Do you have a waiting list?
We have been working very hard to get all the kids in that need therapy and need services. That's something that we've been problem solving and working through. And in fact, I got word a couple months ago that there was another therapy clinic that saw many of children with the same special needs and things like that we see here that had to close down because of the pandemic. So that left a whole lot of kids without any therapy and a whole lot of parents and families scared and worried about their children in their greatest time of need. This is a global pandemic. This is a child with special needs, medically fragile. School is not there, friends are not there. We couldn't see family. So we put on our thinking caps to see what we could do. And we reached out to Boys and Girls Haven, and they have allowed us to have some clinic space on their campus. And we've brought in two of those therapists in almost their full caseloads to be able to continue to provide services to those kids. And now also to the kids of Boys and Girls Haven, which is extremely exciting.
That is wonderful, and that speaks to, you know, the word collaboration, because yes, there's, you know, I think it's easy to talk, especially in our sector, that, you know, we need more collaboration, you know, or the nonprofits, they don't collaborate, but you really do. You really, really do.
It is my mission to do that because we have so much to offer, and there's so much we need. And I would say that's true of many nonprofits. And to be able to work together and help more people, where's the lose in that? There's not. We're a community, so let's act like one. Let's be a community and work together. We all want the same outcome. We want kids to grow up healthy, happy, successful, to be empowered, to be confident. So we are now able, you know, we are reaching out so that we can continue to do that and to help more kids.
Well, and we have to think bigger. I mean, the problems that we're trying to solve are big problems, and we just have to think bigger to get there. You know, I want to talk about, you know, how people can find you, because again, I think you have capacity, but one of the things I'd like to talk about is last year's grant cycle. Of course, we're getting ready to look at this year's, but in the year we're in, we approved a $200,000 grant for Green Hill Therapy, and it's one in a long line of grants that we've given to Green Hill. How's that helping you?
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I have had the fortune of working my way up through Green Hill. So I came in as I'm an occupational therapist by trade. So I came in, and when Kosair, with Kosair's support, it was very obvious, whether it's the supplies or being able to work with horses or in the pool. Those are all expensive things. And we would not have any of those without Kosair, let's be honest. So I was able to see it on an individual patient level. Each session I could go in and see Kosair supporting and enhancing each and every session with each and every kid. As I've moved up into management, it's been amazing to see now the overall picture of that, because I'm seeing it's not only helping the kids that are in my sessions and the kids on my caseload, I'm seeing that it's helping all the kids, and kids that would otherwise not be able to afford to have therapy. So to see it on a bigger level, and then now to reach out to another campus, to a satellite at Boys and Girls Haven, is such a beautiful thing, and so vital to what we're doing. It's like we're helping more kids in bigger and better ways, and we could not do that without the support of Kosair Charities.
Well, great. I mean, and we're, like I said, we're honored to do it, because you've shown that you're sustainable. You've shown that you make a difference in children's lives, and so we're really, really happy with the partnership. But talk about if there's somebody that you know we've touched today, and they want to reach out, how do they get a hold of Green Hill Therapies and you?
So they can visit our website, which is greenhilltherapy.org. They can call us 502-244-8011 and leave a message, and we will get back to them. They can email me at Sarah, SARAH, .Halfacre, just like it sounds, HALFACRE, at greenhilltherapy.org, or they can find us on Facebook.
Great. And I tell you what, if people will reach out, this will be a life-changing event if you all can connect. So, you know, we've covered a lot, but you know, before we wrap up, what else would you like to talk about today? What haven't I asked you?
I think something that's very important to touch base on, or to touch on, is, you know, we talk about helping kids, kids with special needs and challenges. The most important thing, what I want to end on, is that these children are full of potential. and have had a lifetime of being told what they can't do, what's wrong, what they won't be able to do. And at Green Hill, and it's the magic of Green Hill, is that we say, forget all of that. Let's talk about what your strengths are, what you can do. What do you want to do? What do you need to do? And we're going to find a way to make that happen so that you can be independent, happy, healthy, confident, and in a very holistic way. So I just am so grateful to be able to work with the kids that we work with, because they bring so much meaning to us and because they have so much potential.
Well, Sarah, and that's a great thing to end on, because it is right, because these kids they've got a great future. They got a great future. Doors just need to be open, and you open doors every day. And for those who support Kosair Charities, this is a great investment. This is how your money is spent right here with organizations like Green Hill Therapy and wonderful professionals like Sarah Halfacre. We're proud of our relationship with them. We're proud of our relationships with you. And please keep on supporting Kosair Charities. Keep on supporting Green Hill Therapy, because both make a difference in our community. And thank you. And thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Keith.